What's up everybody, my name is Vincent. Welcome to Cryptolution, where we talk about everything under the moon in the crypto universe. Today's Tuesday, November 25th. Now in today's dog video, I have some very bullish data I need to share with you, because we're seeing for the very first time since April 2025 that the dog dominance is actually returning against Bitcoin's price. Now what does this actually mean for dog? Well, to me, I'm going to share with you in the video why this could signal a very bullish reversal, the very early stage of a bullish reversal. And why could that be supported? Well, it could be supported by Bitcoin, because right now Bitcoin, even though we saw some major manipulation by JP Morgan and also Wintermute and Binance because of the deleveraging of a stablecoin, we're seeing right now a ton of people buying Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin's reaching this new adoption, especially if it's a strategic reserve from a really well-known state within the US and also other macro bullish news, then dog is set up for success. So this video, I want you to just really pay attention to the data, because data will tell you what's going to happen rather than following your emotions. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and smash up that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X. Please be careful with any of the scammers down in the comments below. I'll never reach out via WhatsApp, Telegram, direct messaging, or email. So please be careful and invest safely. Guys and girls, let's get right into it. So dog right now is around 130 million market cap. Now, if you look over the past week, this is what's great, is that we used to be at around $110 million. Just look at that sharp uptrend. I love that. That's why we say buy the dips. Never fall for selling the lows and thinking that everything's going to be in a bear market. That's not the case. This is the very next stage for the hype cycle that's coming up. This is no longer a 4-year cycle. It's an extended, elongated cycle. Now, Bitcoin's price is still hovering around 86 and went as high as around 89,000 as of yesterday. So it's kind of bouncing back and forth, and I will tell you this is due to a lot of leverage traders. They're kind of battling it out. The bulls, the bears are just going all out on it, but it doesn't really change the fundamentals, because look at this. So apparently the CME Fed Watch tool now has adjusted its 25 basis point prediction, which is the rate cut that should be announced on December 10th, from 77 to now 84%. And why is that? Well, there are Federal Reserve allies such as Christopher Waller and Michelle Bauman, and they're pretty much trying to lay the groundwork for a rate cut that hopefully Jerome will listen to. So that's why you're seeing a massive support for a 25 basis point rate cut, which is highly likely based on what I'm seeing here. And also because of this, Arthur Hayes thinks that the 80,000 that we just saw recently, well, we really went to around 82,000, but he predicts that that was the likely bottom of this market, meaning we aren't in a bear market. As much as all these other technical analysis would like to follow the 4-year cycle and thinking that things are going to end, well, guess what? Maybe this is where Bitcoin returns for its next leg up. And here's some other great news to support why Bitcoin can go up even more. So apparently we just found out as of today, the president has chose his front runner to be the next Fed chair. So Jerome Powell will most likely be replaced by Kevin Hassett. Now, if you don't know, Hassett served as a Coinbase academic and regulatory advisory council. And as you know, Coinbase has been advocating for regulation within the United States. So if he were to be chosen for the Fed chair, which would be in May of 2026, that's very bullish for crypto. Now, another thing that's just happened and announced today is that Texas just bought $10 million worth of Bitcoin for its strategic reserve. They are the first state to acquire this amount for their own state. Now, I want to fast forward to Bitcoin dominance. Now, if you've noticed, Bitcoin dominance has actually formed its third consecutive higher low. So these are higher lows right here where it seems like for the first time in a while that we're actually trending downwards, meaning when Bitcoin dominance drops, altcoin season begins. So what does that look like? So this is where we are currently right now. We're seeing like 3 short, small red weekly candles. And it could look like this where the Bitcoin dominance drops this low. As we saw it happen over here back in 2021, remember when altcoin seasons were like, or at least altcoins were just rallying against Bitcoin's price, you could just bet on anything, everything would be going up. Even before then, we saw another altcoin rally, or aka altcoin season, when Bitcoin dominance was dropping. So right now we're kind of like just due for that, just because this has been the most longest consolidation of Bitcoin's price, gaining more exposure and making altcoins bleed for almost close to a couple years now. And so I feel like this is the exact time where altcoins will begin their season and Bitcoin dominance begins to drop. And that's what I'm just seeing here. That's just what I'm seeing in the charts. Because as you can see with the MACD, eventually you go down, you go up, and then you drop. Same thing over here. You go down, you go up, and then you drop. Last thing back in 2017, you go down, you go up, and then you drop. And it's sort of happening right now as we speak. So that's quite interesting. So when I look at the meme coins actually have a better return on investment, but really only the top like 20 most likely have the better return on investment because they have smaller market caps than, utility meme coins, layer ones, you name it, right? AI tokens. These are in the few hundred millions. Only a very few are in over $1 billion. So only the top 5 are in $1 billion. Everything else is in the hundreds of millions. And if you believe in meme coins, especially the number one meme coin on Bitcoin, Dog, you'll know that this won't be in the hundreds of millions. It'll be the multi-billions of dollars. So that's why you're seeing a lot of exposure, people buying into this, which I'll share with you in just a little bit. But in just breaking news as of today, if you don't know, blockchain.com, which is also an exchange, just announced that they are currently integrating the runes and accessing the runes protocol so that they can support them properly. This is verbally confirmed by the actual X account by blockchain.com. So that's breaking news. So that's absolutely amazing to see that another exchange is about to list Dog for spot trading. And also just keep in mind, this just goes to show that it takes a while for these exchanges to build the infrastructure because no one really knows how to list fungible tokens on Bitcoin on their exchange. So just give some patience to the exchanges that we think are going to list Dog. Give them a little bit more time, like Gemini, say for instance, or Coinbase. Now, another thing I want to share with you is Crypto Capital Ventures AI unit. This is the risk model. So I put Dog Bitcoin. Now, what have you noticed in this specific chart? The Dog's price is actually double bottomed. And what do I mean by double bottom? That means that this has been always the major support level, and it's most likely that Dog looks like it's going to reach another leg up because it's absolutely been oversold. Now, here's Dog compared to the top 10. From what you can see here, right? Dog is actually in sentiment doing a lot better than all the majority of the top 10. And when Dog is showing you these signals very early on, which is the data that we're sharing with you, this data is supposed to signal to you that you are in the right place at the right time. So most likely the 1% will see this information and the 99% will be chasing the pump when it does happen. I mean, we even see the top 100 whales accumulating as we speak. Look at wallet number 91, accumulated roughly around 67 tokens as of yesterday. Now, also look at the total number of holders, right? So we used to be in December roughly of 2024, 107,000 holders. Now we only have 91,000 holders. This is how you liquidate retail, is when you have a transfer of wealth from retail over to the long-term conviction players and also whales. In order to get people like retail to sell their bag, you need to see a capitulation in the market. So this is what you saw. You saw 107,000 reduced to 91,000, and majority of those people were gone. So it's almost close to around 16 to 17,000 holders were liquidated, and now they can't really get back in at a better price just because they're too fearful. So now this is what we're seeing, and we always see new holders every single day. And each holder can acquire more than like 67 million tokens as we've just seen. So here's a quick rundown of why right now is the best time to be buying Dog. Now let's focus on the first diagram. Now obviously you know that Dog themed meme coins capture the most market share and mind share, but most importantly market share, because they have historical performance. Everybody loves a Dog, and especially that Dog is the first meme coin Dog on Bitcoin. So obviously that has a lot more upside to that. So even pay attention to this. So as I mentioned, Dog is the first meme coin on Bitcoin, and also it's a Dog themed meme coin. So this has a lot more upside because it has exposure to Bitcoin. Look at Ethereum and Solana meme coins. They're already priced in to their native chain. Now, in terms of exposure to Bitcoin's market share, that's another thing that gives Dog another leg up, because you can't say the same thing about Shiba Inu, Dogecoin, Bonk, Dogwifhat, or Floki, because they're not built on the Bitcoin blockchain. They're built on Solana, Ethereum, and sometimes BNB, and they don't have a large market cap. Dog absolutely has more upside if it were to make 0.05, 0.1, 0.2, 0.5, or even at least 1%, right? Because we already know that Shiba Inu and Bonk are at least 1% of their native chain's market cap, at least more than that, 1.5 and higher. So Dog at 1% would be in the billions, multi-billions of dollars. And also the fundamentals around Dog align with Bitcoin. It's a fair launch, no VC allocations, no insiders, no market makers. It's just pure community. So it doesn't favor whales, and that's what's amazing about this 100% circulating supply distributed amongst everybody in the community. This is really community based, just like Bitcoin was. And we want to share with you another thing, that Dog Bitcoin is the #1 fungible token by market cap. So what do you think is going to happen when, Bitcoin meme coins or fungible tokens on Bitcoin become very popular? Well, Dog is most likely going to be the front runner, and it's going to be the first true breakout of any of these native tokens. It's a great example. And let's not forget, Ordi has a Binance and multiple tier 1 centralized exchange listings, and it still cannot surpass Dog. And this is what I want to remind you, right, as you as a holder, this is how powerful you are, is that no matter what's going on in the market, if there's manipulation by market makers like Wintermute, big exchanges like Binance, or even JP Morgan liquidating Bitcoin, it cannot kill the Dog army. And this just goes to show you by data that you are the strongest meta, and you're going to have a huge breakout this cycle. And last but not least, as we mentioned before, Dog within the top 20, especially the top 50 meme coins by market cap, is the only one with a tier 1 centralized exchange listing, and possibly 2 more, Gemini and Coinbase, right? So just think about that. It already surpasses Mog, Mew, Popcat, and Peanut, and they all have multiple tier 1 centralized exchange listings up to 5 and higher. Dog only has 1. And this will be in the top 5 if we even get 1 centralized exchange listing, if it's Coinbase or Gemini. The race is on. All right, I want to get close to the charting and analysis. Now, this is breaking news. Now, if you don't know, and this is very bullish, this is Dog dominant against Bitcoin's price. So what have you noticed in this? Now, these green and orange lines is the 20-day and 50-day moving average. Now, what are you seeing with the Dog price? The Dog price, or Dog dominance, the Dog dominance is actually about to break out above that. Now, the last time we saw something like that was back over here in April 2025. And what happened to the Dog price? It ended up pumping from roughly around 170 million market cap all the way up to around 560 million market cap. Now, if you look in the past on October 24th, you saw that Dog dominance, when it crossed the 50-day and 20-day moving average, Dog dominance surpassed Bitcoin dominance, okay? Same thing over here. Dog dominance surpassed Bitcoin dominance. So let's look into the actual price of Dog right now. So as you can see, Dog right now is meeting major resistance levels with the 20-day and 50-day moving average. And this blue is descending trend line. It's meeting a lot of major resistance. So right now, we need to break out of that. Any moment in time, it can break out. And even with the MACD, it's still pretty much intact, where we are still trying to accelerate out of the seller's market into the buyer's market. And that's very positive for Dog Bitcoin, because every single time that we see the MACD get out of the seller's market and pumps into the buyer's market, every single time is very reflective to the price of Dog. Okay, so this is why we're meeting a lot of resistance. A lot of leverage traders are going to play their games, but I've just literally just shared with you all the data that makes me feel bullish around Dog Bitcoin. I just want to remind everybody that the reason you want to focus on data is because you need some certainty, right? You want to mitigate the amount of risk and garner more reward. So with all this information, I really want you to come with your own consensus and your own judgments and predictions. And I do want to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. But with all this information that I've shared with you, how do you feel? What do you predict is going to happen in the month of December, since quantitative tightening is ending on December 1st, and the first rate cut that we potentially could see, which is a 25 basis point rate cut, is happening on December 10th. So what do you think is going to happen to Dog and Bitcoin in the month of December? Let me know your thoughts down below, and I cannot wait to read them. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X to receive all of our alpha calls and updates regarding Dog and Moon. Till then, see you guys girls next time.